So there was a confrontation between management at the Old Vine, a card-only pub in Winchester. Why haven't I been there? And a punter who wanted to pay in cash. It's gone viral. Have a look, see what you think.
Okay, so that's all I've got.
Okay, I'm afraid I can't tell you anything today then, unfortunately.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Even though I can personally sue you for up to £9,000.
You wouldn't be allowed to operate. We don't accept cash.
You're not
Signs,
allowed to
signs
operate.
on the door.
It's irrelevant.
Signs on the menus.
It's irrelevant.
Okay, well,
You cannot
unfortunately, I can't
refuse
tell you anything
legal
today.
tender.
That's going to be
You
the end of the
cannot
conversation. I
refuse
cannot say
legal tender.
This thing about you can't refuse legal tender is wrong. It's not.
Yeah.
You can refuse it if you want.
Yeah.
But it's
I
whether...
also don't like the bullying of a member of staff.
No, I
Take
don't.
it up
And-
with the company
and
who owns it.
filming
Don't
her-
go and do that to somebody who works there.
Yeah, I'm afraid to say that customer, if you work in business, that's the reason you close your business, because you can't bear customers like that. However, was she right? And is it wrong to say no cash?
Well, what I'm going to say may sound like a fudge, but let me explain why. I mean, I think it is wrong now. I think at the moment people should not be able to refuse cash now. However, I can see the way the world is going, and I have no doubt at all that the time will come when it's just natural to use cards, and therefore I also see an argument for hastening it. So what I think is that at the moment you should be obliged to accept cash, but there should be a time limit on that beyond which it will be lawful to say card only.
Kevin?
I'm worried about people who don't have bank accounts or, for whatever,
Well, they're
whatever reason.
usually the elderly.
However, I kind of think it should be up to a business. If it's a public service, I think it's somewhat different. But if you want to go into that pub and they say it's card only, you got to pay with a card.
And
That's
they
it.
got signs. And do you think the woman who was asking to pay had already quaffed the pint? Because that would be cheeky, wouldn't it? Just down in one and then say, I've only
Then
got
you
a
just
20.
you leave the coins on the counter and you go out. You
Yeah.
say, I
But
paid.
they say, I remember watching Tomorrow's World probably 30 years ago, and they said in the future we'll pay for a bunch of flowers with a credit card. That's a classic, where it's a really small purchase. And I thought that's never going to happen
It
because
happens on
credit
the railways with a Kit Kat.
Yes, I know. So that if you would, please stop interrupting me.
I was reinforcing your point, Jeremy.
Yeah, I know,
was
but 30
reinforcing
years
your
ago it looked absolutely absurd. Now, of course, we pay for very small things with a card. That's the thing.
I know, but a corner shop, if you go in and you want to buy some chewing gum and you try to pay with a £50 note, it would be very entitled to say, off you go. You're just
The only people who carry £50 notes now are criminals. It's quite clear, isn't it? Why does anyone else have one?
Well, I do when I travel.
Uh-oh.
That makes me a criminal.
Is that the
I'm
time?
a criminal now.
You carry £50 notes?
When I travel, only when I travel.
What do you mean when you travel? You
Go
go on a train
if you
or
didn't
something?
understand this,
Well, you go to Cornwall.
you get on a plane and
Oh, a
you
plane.
go to a foreign country.
As in travel abroad?
Yeah.
OK, because even so, I think they're just a liability. They're worth so much.
But can I come back to the corner shop?
can come
Because
back to anything.
I think that's actually quite important because, of course, little shops, little businesses do not want to keep quantities of cash overnight.
Yep.
And sometimes if they stay open for a long time in the evening, that's what they do.
And if you run a business, card payments will all be recorded. You add it up for you at the end of the day.
Yes.
You're less likely to get a robber coming in. And also, if you've got a light-fingered member of staff, you're not going to lose cash in the same way.
Yeah,
Ricky on Twitter says, I wouldn't have gone to the extent of filming the assistant manager like that when it might not be her fault, but I too am dead against a cashless society. It is discriminatory. David on Twitter says, it's up to the business, surely. They want to reduce their client base by restricting to cashless. It's up to them. I've got a business and I choose what to sell and how to sell it. Bringing the law into something like this is silly. I had a dinner last night with one of my best friends. Said, I'll take you out for a meal because it's my birthday on Friday. And so myself and that friend and the third person who we both know, we were all at school together. We went out. And at the end, what was interesting was my friend paid, which was so kind of him. But the waitress had been really lovely and he wanted to sort of separately give her a tip that wasn't something that went on the credit card. So we had that moment of, can we put some cash together here? And he gave her actually a £20 tip, which is great. But I just thought there are reasons why you need it. A good example is to give somebody a tip, I think.
I like spending cash. I probably have take a couple of £100 out a week and spend it.
Of
But
course. Yeah, likewise.
Stop.
Very, very old
Shut the
school.
front door.
Very old.
Take.
Very old school, yeah.
Yes.
What are
I
you
do.
spending
I do.
it on?
Cafes, restaurants, cabs, buying newspapers,
You just use a touch.
getting your hair cut.
There's a tip involved in that, I suppose. Yeah.
And tips, yeah.
So interesting. So you're the guy who goes to the pub and starts the argument.
Yeah, but if I went to a pub
Yeah.
and it said it only takes cards, well, it's a pub that only takes
wouldn't
cards.
argue. Yeah.
No.
Wouldn't argue.
And I certainly would not film a member of staff and try and put
I
them in
think
an
we've
awkward
agreed
position.
that is the customer from hell. Mark in West Yorkshire, hi.
All right, buddy.
All right, buddy. What's up?
All right. So,
What's up, man?
yeah. Well, it's all good stuff, yeah. We just came back from Kissimmee in Florida 3 weeks. We've been there for 3 weeks.
Yep.
And in America, believe me, this drive for credit is not going on. It is cash is king.
Is
In
it
almost-
still?
Sorry?
Even to the extent of dollar bills and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you go along to the eateries in Kissimmee and so forth, they ask you to pay cash if you can. There's so much fraud going on with the credit cards and so forth. Even gas, even petrol is cheaper if you pay cash. If you go to a petrol station on Kissimmee on the 192, all the petrol stations are saying it's 10 cents cheaper if you pay cash than if you pay by a credit card.
This is really, I did not know that. I mean, I know America has some weird things, like although they're at the front of technology, if you go into an American hotel, they've got the oldest telephones in the world.
Yeah.
And that's because they adopted them earlier than any other hotels in the world. So they got the first telephones. So something odd. Can you work out why, Mark, or not?
Basically, there's so much fraud going on with the cards that the retailers are losing out all the time. So they're saying, well, if you can play cash, please do.
Yeah.
It really is going on in Kissimmee. It's been like that for a couple of years now.
And I guess also cards have charges as well, don't they, Kevin? So
Yeah, they do, which of course a retailer would have to pay.
Yep.
But Mark, do you think there might be something that some businesses like to take cash, whether it's in the UK or the US, because then it may not all be declared to the HMRC
off
or
the
the
books.
IRS?
I don't know if that's the case, but certainly along the 192, with all the eateries there's so many places where you eat, and of course you tip a great deal for the waiters and waitresses.
192, is that what? Is that the route? That's
do it with cash.
the 192 is the highway down through Florida, is it? Or
No, it's the 192 is the highway that goes through Kissimmee. It's the main highway with all the drags. Just up the end of it is Disney at one end, you've got St. Cloud at the other.
Okay, thank you, Mark. That's nice. It's giving us like a blast of Florida air in the studio. Well, thank you, we appreciate it. You ever been to Disneyland?
No.
After the papers and everything else, including